to today's English session. After my last session, some people called me and they told me they want more clarification on the topic do, does and did. So I decided to have a session on the auxiliaries do, does and did. As you know, there are 24 auxiliaries in all. 11 principal auxiliaries and 13 modal auxiliaries. All these auxiliaries are used to make the tenses and the mood of the speaker. What are the uses of do and does and did also? Let us think about it in detail. We normally use do, does, did in order to make negative sentences. Negative sentences in simple present tense and simple past tense. Do and does is used in simple present tense negative and did in simple past tense negative. Let us think about a sentence. He reads a newspaper regularly. They read a newspaper regularly. What are the difference between these two sentences? Is there any difference? Both are talking about only one thing, reading newspaper, right? He reads a newspaper regularly, they read a newspaper regularly. Both are positive sentences. We don't see any auxiliary verb in it. In order to make this sentence, we want some auxiliary verbs. Which auxiliary verbs do we need here? Let us think about it. He reads a newspaper regularly. He does not read a newspaper regularly. That is the negative form of it. They do not read newspaper regularly. That is the negative form of the second sentence. These two sentences are talking about only one thing. That is about reading newspaper. But the subject of these sentences are different. The first sentence has the subject he. In the second sentence, we can see the subject they. He is singular in number. And they, what about they? They is plural in number. And that is the only difference that we notice here. The subject is singular and subject is plural. Then we go to the auxiliary part. He does not. They do not. He does not read a newspaper regularly. They do not read a newspaper regularly. Here, when the subject is singular, it takes the does. The auxiliary does. What about the plural subject? It takes do. So, they do not. He does not. Ram does not. Boys do not. Okay, there is a difference between does and do. The usage of does and do. Now let us think about the usage of did. Take for example, a simple past tense sentence. He played football yesterday. He played football yesterday. It is a simple past tense sentence and also it is a positive sentence. We won't see any did here, any auxiliary verb here. Okay, we must make it negative. How can we make it negative? We can make it negative by adding the auxiliary verb did. So how can it be changed? They did not play football yesterday, or he did not play football yesterday. That is a negative form. Here we must remember one thing. Be it singular or plural, the subject, whether it is singular or plural, it does not make any difference here. Be it singular or plural, it takes did. But remember one more thing. When we use did in a sentence, it must be followed by the first form of the verb, not the second form. We cannot say, he did not play football. We cannot say. It is wrong to say. We must say, he did not play football, or they did not play football. It is wrong to say, they did not play football. They did not came. It is wrong. We have to say, they did not come. He did not play. On the whole, we can say that do, does and did are normally used to make negative sentences, especially in simple present and simple past tense. Now let us think about its other usages. Do, does and did can be used to make interrogative sentences. That is, question sentences. Do and does in simple present questions and did in simple past questions. Let us think about one question. When does he get up regularly? When do they get up regularly? When do they get up regularly? When does he get up regularly? You see, do and does are used. So they are used in interrogative sentences. Again, in simple past tense, when did they get up yesterday? When did he get up yesterday? The subject, be it singular or plural, we can use did in simple past tense. So in interrogative sentences, normally we can use do, does and did, especially in simple past and simple present tense sentences. And also there are other types of questions also. Yes or no questions are there. So in yes or no questions also, if it is a simple present question, if it is a simple past question, we can use do, does and did. But we have to remember one thing. In positive sentences, normally we won't use all these three. Normally they are used in simple present and simple past, and it is in negative and in interrogative. And in positive sentence, normally we don't use this do, does and did. For example, I get up at 6 a.m. regularly. I won't say I do get up at 6 a.m. regularly. In the same way, he gets up at 6 a.m. regularly. We won't say he does get up at 6 a.m. regularly. Also, we won't say he did get up at 6 a.m. yesterday. We won't say. Instead we say he got up at 6 a.m. yesterday, or they got up at 6 a.m. yesterday. These are the basic things that we have to remember, we have to keep in mind while using do, does and did. Before we wind up, let us have a recap of what we have been discussing so far. Mainly, do, does are used in simple present tense. Also, did is used in simple past tense. That is the first and foremost thing we have to remember. The next thing we should think that do and does are used in simple present tense to make the sentence negative, in order to make it negative sentences, and did in simple past tense to make it negative. That is the second point we have to remember. Again, as a third rule, we can remember that they can be used in interrogative sentences, especially in WH questions and yes or no questions. Do and does in simple present and did in simple past tense. So these are the main points to be considered while using do, does and did in our normal English. There are other usages of do, does and did that we will discuss in detail in the coming sessions. Now it is time for closing our session. We will meet in our next session. Till then,